Has anyone ever heard these terms tamas, rajas, and sattva?
Oh, Ayurveda, yeah.
Yeah. So the tamas is kind of this stuck in a rut, low energy. If you're sick, sometimes it's equated to addiction, being stuck in a rut. It's basically a contraction or a limitation or restraint. And then rajas is excitement, energy, arguing, dancing, passion. It's that kind of excited energy. And much of our lives, for most people, we're just going from one to the other. Like, we get up in the morning, we're tired, we rush to work, then we go home and watch TV and pass out. You know, like it's that kind of flip-flopping. But there's a third state, which is called sattva, which is a sort of state of higher consciousness, peace, beauty, not gripped. And I'm equating that with the I am, which I talked about last week, which is kind of the state of pure being. So similar to the witness, but not even the witness identity, just existing. Mm-hmm. So those are the three states, according to Ayurveda, that we pass through. So, but what I want to introduce this tonight is this idea of figuring out where you are in any moment. Mm-hmm. So if you know that your mind is in tamas, which can also be equated to like victim ideas or feeling down or feeling like I can't do it, I can't be something, or this persecutor, rescuer energy, I must be something, I must get something. So those are the two things. And the idea is that you just tune into wherever you are, whatever energy you are. So I'll be guiding you guys through this as we go. And you may not notice anything at all, but the idea is that if you can include this energy, integrate it, understand it, have compassion for it, don't judge it, then you can then transcend it into this sattva energy. So just a final thing on this chart, if you're in this tamas, you're kind of in action, your energy is dropping, it's about limits and avoidance and boundaries, respecting boundaries, and if your energy is activated, then it's about action, you're pursuing some kind of purpose, agenda, and direction. So that's the general idea. And I'll use these terms, but they may not, you may not remember it, and that's quite all right. One other thing I'm going to integrate with this, if that's not enough, is this idea from Sufism. And I've changed the terminology, but basically it's this, they call it the zikr, Z-I-K-R. And basically, and we don't have to do this, but I'll just show you what it is. So basically what you're doing is you're kind of investigating, right? That's our lives on earth. We're just investigating, moving from left to right. And then at some point, we just realize, I can't manage this. I can't figure it out. I can't get what my ego wants. It's never satisfied. That's the resignation. So it's investigation, back up, resignation, and then lifting up, liberation. So that's coming to some kind of resolution, some kind of freedom. We don't know how that happens. It may never happen, but that's the belief that it will happen. And then what we do is we turn our head to the left, towards the heart. We think the word again. So and then we process the whole thing again: investigation, resignation, liberation. So what I like to do, and I'll prompt you guys again if you don't remember, it's fine. But during the meditation, you could either do the motions. Everyone will probably have their eyes closed, so it won't be embarrassing. But then at some point, what I like to do is, and this is not from Sufism, but I like to, because they'll do these motions for like a half an hour. But what I like to do is just move my eyes and just the slightest amount of movement in the neck, just to show investigation, resignation, liberation again. And the idea is basically, we go through life, we're chasing rajas and tamas, trying to figure things out, trying to get what our mind demands that we need to be happy. And at some point, we give up. We're like, I just can't figure this out, I can't do it. And then in that, at least their belief is, and I think a lot of traditions feel this way, in that resignation, in that humility, then there's liberation, not by getting what you want or avoiding what you don't want, but by entering that sattvic state. And then, instead of getting to hang out there, rebirth or just a new day, we just like, yeah, I'll do it again. So that's the idea. So I'll prompt you through all this. If your memory doesn't stay with you, it doesn't matter. All right, any questions before we try this idea? No, all right. Okay, great, okay. All right, so we'll just start with the breath. Oh, and we'll go for half an hour. Is that okay with everybody to do that? Okay. Okay. So what I like to do is I like to keep a fairly straight posture, don't forcing anything. Find a good place for your hands. Oh, and Jacqueline, did we turn on the noise machine?
Yes, do you want me to make it a little louder?
I think so, because I'm hearing some voices.
Sure, I can make it louder, no worries.
All right, so just let's see if we can pay total attention to what Jacqueline's sounds are as she raises the volume, closes the door. See if we can hear her sit down. Okay. All right. So again, just a comfortable posture, hands in a comfortable place. And I like to start with the breath and breathing in. I sometimes put my hand on my stomach, feeling it expand. Breathing out, feel the stomach fall. And just attune to the sensations of the air in your nose or the stomach, expanding and contracting. If thoughts come, go back to the breath. And you can stay with the breath, or you can shift to your hands or your feet or both. And you can stay with the hands, the feet, or the breath, or you can move to sounds. It's okay if a thought pulls you away. Just go back to whatever you chose as your marker. Now we're going to shift to something I tried a few weeks back, which is don't control it. It could be the thoughts, it could be the sound, it could be the breath, it could be the hands, it could be the feet, it could be something else. You're not controlling anything, you're just observing where it goes. So as I talk, just keep focusing on breath, the hands, the feet, the sound, or you can let it flow as you wish. If you don't absorb all that I'm saying, it doesn't matter. So the piece of paper that I handed out, it basically charts this idea of this split in us that can be this word called tamas, this kind of inaction, limits, restraint, or rajas, which is activation, purpose, direction. And when we're in meditation, often we're touching into this third option, this third state, which is the sattva state, which I'm associating with the I am. You could also associate it with the witness, or as Jacqueline was saying, the sky. It's just whatever it is, whatever you call it, however you characterize it, it's not rajas and it's not tamas. So I'm going to go through those motions I showed you. You don't have to if you don't want to, but I'm just going to do it a few times, and I'll narrate what I'm doing. And you can just move your eyes and your neck slightly. And, you know, eyes closed, but your eye sockets. Or you can actually do the motions. But in the first phase of it, this investigation, again, we're starting with our head sort of tilted down a little bit to the left, and then we're going to sweep around. Even you can bend your back if you're doing it with me. Back up to the fully straight up posture, then the resignation, the head goes down, the back can bend a little bit if you want. And then once you're focused right on the eyes looking straight ahead into the darkness, then out of nothingness comes the liberation. And soon then we'll do again, and we'll live through the whole thing again. During the investigation, if you're going to follow me with this idea, whether you're moving or just imagining the movement, consider it an investigation of what's playing out right now or what's played out in your life, whether it's that inaction, that limit, that restraint, or whether it's the action of trying to get somewhere, trying to be something, believing you can do it. We're not judging these two polarities, these two opposites. But in the investigation, that's kind of what we're doing in our lives. We're investigating these two energies. And then when we get to the liberation, that's where we're inviting this third energy. All right, so I'll just tell you what I'm doing. So my head goes to the left, down to the heart, sweeping down to investigation, straight up, resignation, looking down at the floor, liberation, head arches up, maybe even tilt the back so if your eyes are open, you'd be looking at the ceiling. And from that liberation, willingness to do it again to the heart. Investigation, is it rajas or tamas? Straight up, resignation, then up to liberation. The thing with the resignation is that it's an admission, it's a confession perhaps, that the tamas and the rajas don't bring us peace. They're just tactics that are trying to basically prevent the other side from winning. And they have their place, but when we come here, when we meditate at home, the aim is to cultivate that third option, the sattva, the I am, or the witness. So my head goes to the left, the again, sweeping down, around, up, resignation, liberation. And now this time I'm going to do it, but I'm not going to move my body, a little bit, but almost nothing, and my eyes will do most of the movement. So again, investigation, resignation, liberation, again, investigation, resignation, liberation, again, investigation, resignation, liberation, again, investigation, resignation, liberation, again. Now let's see if you can, if you wish, to stick with it during the silences for a minute or two. And a way to remember these words in case you forget them is they are the acronym IRL as in real life, but in this case, the I is for investigation, the R is for resignation, and then the L is for liberation. And even if you forget the words, it's really the body sense of it, the emotion of it, the feeling of it. And you can consider investigation the life. You can consider resignation the final time of life or final time of your day. And the liberation is this idea that something comes beyond this framework that we exist in most of the time. I'll do one more and then I'll stop talking for 2 minutes. So again, investigation, resignation, liberation, so you may have found while doing it that the words got jumbled or that your head wanted to move, skip liberation, for example. And that's totally fine. It may also point to a signal to connect with the emotion of it. In that investigation while you're sweeping from left to right, it's that idea of looking for something. And what we're looking for is often, if not always, dictated by these energies, which don't just exist in people, they exist in nature. But whether we're looking for that purpose, that direction, that activation, that expending of energy, that work, or whether we're looking for the restraint, the contraction, the constraint, the limitation, boundaries. That's often what we're looking for. So when you sweep your head from left to right, it's just tuning into what that energy is. So again, investigation, resignation, liberation, again, investigation, resignation, liberation. What's so interesting is that I think if we've ever experienced a liberation, any kind, just a third state, we often want to just stay there. Like, why we want to go back to this investigation and being gripped by these polar energies, tamas and rajas. And yet that's where we're pulled so often. Most people don't stay in that state of peace. And so that transition from the liberation to the second round of investigation, I think it's really, in some ways, the most important one. It's like, yeah, it's happening again. I accept that. I'm leaving the state of oneness, the state of I am, the state of liberation, to do this human folly again. And I think having a sense of humor or humility about it before, it's hard during, but even during, and after, that is kind of the acknowledgement of this cycle that life seems to move us through. We're called into this trial, and then we return to this bardo state. So again, investigation, resignation, liberation, again, investigation, resignation, liberation, again. So I'll fall silent again for another 2 minutes, and you can go through the IRL with the again, or just listen to sounds or focus on the breath, whatever you wish. So we are halfway through our half hour, and you can continue to do what you were doing, either the investigation, resignation, liberation again, if you found it engaging. And if you do continue it, but you find that sometimes you're forgetting, you can pause at the again to think, what is the word? What is my state? Am I attracted and feeling limits? Am I feeling restless and purposeful in direction? And then the sweeping of the investigation, the resignation's admission that it won't bring happiness, the liberation inviting the I am. So you can stay with that cycle. Or if you've been doing it, it's helpful to, or interesting perhaps, to stop moving the head, stop moving the eyes, just focus on wherever the eyes want to go, which may be in front of you, may be as if you're looking at the ground if your eyes were open, but a kind of resting position. In some cases that may even go above the eye line, but we're not forcing anything, just finding peace in the non-motion. We'll do that in silence for 2 minutes or so. So we talked about the again as this phase of sense of humor or humility, or even reluctance, but willingness to go through the cycle again. So now I want to take this opportunity, as it rarely comes in life, to ask yourself, what has my investigation been trying to uncover? All this activation and restraint in my life, what have I been trying to get, really? Just focus on the breath, don't force anything, just see if anything comes to mind. investigation may be trying to get back something lost in childhood, trying to get approval from others, or silencing the inner critic, feeling important or significant, feeling supportive of others. Maybe a quest for safety, or could be so many things that is a central investigation trying to use this tamas and rajas to get something that we think that we need. Stay with the breath. Now, what many people believe, and perhaps I do some days, is that not only can I succeed at this investigation, but that I must avoid resignation. I must avoid admitting that all my strategies haven't really brought me peace. Because it's scary to think, oh gosh, I did all this work and I'm not really sure it's gotten me anywhere. But if one can surrender to that, the resignation, the admission that maybe it hasn't really brought me a state of peace that I know human beings can find, then we're open to something else. The challenge for people who are either very successful in life, their rajas energy has given them proof of worth, or who feel hopeless and they don't even want to try. The challenge for those two people is that they're still playing the tamas versus rajas game. But the opportunity with meditation, and especially with this Sufism idea, is to be a little humble and be like, not so sure it's working. Because the more that we do that surrender and resignation, as the head drops, just like being okay with the fact that we're not quite sure, it's in that surrender that inspiration and liberation can happen. Without the resignation, it's perhaps not going to come at such a deep and profound level. It takes courage, obviously, and we're not really shown that in our society. And then after the liberation, to be willing to say, all right, well, I'm not going to grasp it, I'm not going to hold it. I can say I am aware that I am, or I am the awareness that is aware of being aware. But eventually, even if you say it all day, and I've tried, your mind wanders. And so that's the again. And then the investigation, again, falling for this polarity. Resignation, there I go again. Liberation as the head lifts. Now, you may or may not, and most likely there's not an actual spiritual liberation or rapture when you're rising your head up, but it's kind of like you're opening up the possibility that that can come after resignation. Breathing in, breathing out. Breathing in, breathing out. And so we only have about 6 minutes left. And so the idea with all of this is that tonight and tomorrow and for the rest of your days and nights, you might remember these 4 steps. And it's that idea of witnessing, oh, I'm in the contraction, I'm in the tamas. Of course, it's not me, but that's what's happening to who I believe to be me. I believe that I'm tired, I believe that I'm in a rut, I believe that I can't do it. Or, I'm full of purpose, I know I can do this. And we often want to stay in that because it's exciting and that's what our culture is about. But if you remember this, you may catch yourself and be like, oh, there's the game again, it's still happening, I'm resigned. I surrender, I just come into the present moment. liberation. Again, investigation, resignation, liberation. Again. And you can even play around with the tone of these words. The investigation can be very, very important work. We're going to figure this out. Investigation. I'm going to get this. I'm going to get this. I'm going to find happiness based on conditions, based on a self-image that myself and others like. I can do it, or I can't do it, I can't do it. And then the resignation, just letting it go. And then maybe your inner tone goes to a higher pitch, liberation. Again, investigation, resignation, liberation. Again, investigation, resignation, liberation. Again, investigation, resignation, liberation. Again. As we approach our final 3 minutes, see if you can, if you've been going along with this IRL, again, process, see if you can do it with only moving your eyes, as if you're tracing like a glowing line in the space in front of you. And you'll see it takes on a kind of a shape. I've never tried to draw it on paper, but it's kind of the flat U as you move around, and then a straight down line, and a straight up line, and a diagonal line to the left shoulder. See if you can do that without moving your head at all, just the eyes. Again to the left, tracing down for the investigation, looking down for the resignation, looking up for the liberation. And so for the final 2 minutes, you can stay with it if you were using it. You can just focus on the breath. And if thoughts come up about whether you like the mindfulness practice we did, or whether you don't like it, or whether you want to try to remember it, or try to use it, or try to understand it, just go back to the breath. Now for our final 30 seconds, I always like to take a moment with these long meditations to thank myself, and you can thank yourselves, for setting time aside in your day to just check in, to just find a little break from all the investigating and purpose and restraint. Just to do what might be the most valuable form of self-care that humanity has ever discovered. when you are ready, take your time. You can move your fingers, shift your body. You could tilt your head down and open your eyes to look at the floor if you like. And then when you're ready, you can fully return to the room. If anyone cares to share about their experience, not necessary, but you can if you wish.
This reminded me of a question I asked my meditation teacher years ago. I was like, can't we just rest in the I am? Like, let's just be in the sattva. Like, when I was young, I wanted to just be there. I was like, why do we need the raja and the tamas? But I came to understand that we need all of them. You actually can't have one without the other, and that you actually need that contrast to remember the sattva. If we were just in sattva, we just wouldn't even know where we were. We'd just be floating around in sattva. But it's like, it is through the process of going through the tamas and the rajas that reminds us, just like with the sky metaphor, like if it was just we were the sky all the time, we wouldn't even know we were the sky. We have to have that practice of like forgetting to remember, going through all these to remember, oh yeah, there is more, and I am the sky, oh yeah. But I think we're supposed to forget sometimes to come back.
Right, because what is sky unless there's ground?
Right.
That doesn't mean anything.
It's just floating around, yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.